And welcome to the Randy Karraker Show, featuring Brooke Grimsley. Brooke, of course, out on maternity leave. Matthew Rocchio is in for Brooke. I am Randy Karraker, and the Randy Karraker Show and STL Sports Central are presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. Great to have you with us, and great to start off today's show with Steve Chapman. He is the Blues Executive Vice President and Chief Revenue and Marketing Officer, and a lot of marketing on the part of the Blues over the course of the last day and a half as they have unveiled their new jerseys, their new logos for the 25-26 season and beyond. And there's Chappie right there. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Morning, guys. How are you doing?
Everything's great. What, in the 24 hours or so since you unveiled these jerseys, what's the response been for you?
Well, we were very hopeful for the response that we have. We're very thankful for it, but it's been unbelievably positive. Randy, you and I saw each other a little bit yesterday. This, we're calling it a remix because it's not a rebrand. It's really tapping into our history and our heritage, but putting it in a forward situation. We want to honor what we stand on. We want to honor the past and everything that has gotten us to where we are, because it's significant. But we want to look forward to the future, and we believe this mark does it.
Yeah, remixed, remastered, and reborn. And one of the things that I love is that a lot of times a team and a league will, you used the word, and they rebrand a team. But you went to your fans, your St. Louis Blues fans, to find out what they liked best. And when you showed this to them, when they told you what they wanted, and then you came back with this, is this what the preponderance of Blues fans are looking for?
We believe so. Randy, it really started in 2017 with the Winter Classic. And we had such positive feedback from fans about the sweaters that we wore. We had such positive feedback from our alumni. We had positive feedback internally here. And then inside the organization who just were raving about that sweater. So we began to include that into our, what we were wearing we called it our heritage sweater. We wore it on Saturday nights. And as it rolled along, we just got more and more comments. And, so yes, I think that the fans largely pushed this, but I can't say it was just the fans. It was really us looking into a lot of different areas and doing the homework on it. And, but I'll say this too, Randy. When you just look at it, there's just a wow factor. And I remember when we saw them for the first time in the design stages of the Winter Classic in 2017, it was impressive. But man, when the boys skated out on the ice, you just have these moments where you're like, wow,
Yeah, it is spectacular, and to use the word, it pops. I do want to point out, because over the last 24 hours or so, we haven't talked a lot about this, and I was talking to Chris Kerber this morning. He said his daughter really liked the jerseys that the Blues were wearing, and those aren't completely going away, are they?
No, and that was another key element of this. That is the note's iconic in all of its iterations. It's iconic, right? But our latest version, the one that we've been wearing, for the last 15 plus years, it's particularly important. We want a Stanley Cup in it. And so we're not walking away from that note or that sweater. That sweater will become our third. That note is still in our repertoire. We can use it. So if any fans have, gear, sweaters, T-shirts, hats, whatever with that note on it, it's not obsolete. You're not passé all of a sudden. It's still involved in what we're doing.
So you say it started in 2017. Was there a lot of reinforcement in the eventual other Winter Classics as you guys kept going back to that lighter blue, the white? It was more of a cream with the Winter Classic, but the white kind of popping the way it is with this new jersey. Did it kind of reinforce it over the years?
It absolutely did. When we were in Minnesota and we wore the cream, that cream sweater was really it was our heritage sweater done as a road sweater, right? And again, same sort of thing. It pops out of the, when we first get it back from the league and the design teams that they have. Wow. We knew how popular it was going to be. So cream is a difficult color to carry forward in a lot of different applications. So we went with white. And what's amazing about that, I do think that what we're now calling St. Louis blue, we used to call heritage blue, but what we call now, I do think that sweater, I think we've grown used to it. So the wow factor, seeing the new whites with that logo on it, now it's like, oh my God, that's beautiful, right? But I do think they both are. We're just a little more used to one of them.
Another one of the great things you guys did was the new secondary logos, which was honestly something that jumped out to me, or the tertiary marks you guys are calling them. These I thought were fantastic. Where was the idea? What started it? Obviously, a new STL logo with the treble clef. You guys completely get a new fleur-de-lis, and then obviously a lot of history and city pride in the River Music one as well.
Yeah, well, we are really excited about this, and you're right. There's kind of a 1A and a 1B. I know the sweaters are the most fan-facing thing and the thing that usually gets the most reaction, but we're equally as excited about this. The note that we've talked about, it's perfect, right? It's iconic. But our challenge that we've had from a merchandising standpoint and from just trying to do different things on different applications is, guys, I can tell you, I've worked for the St. Louis Blues for a little over 10 years now. My wardrobe is filled with blue notes, right? Like I have more things with blue notes on it that I'm giving it away to people because it's almost like you get something and it's nice, but I can't already have that, and I can't already have that, and I can't already have that. So this was really important for us to be able to be able to branch out. And it started, you asked where it started. We were trying to do something that said St. Louis. And so obviously STL is, I think, universally, if not globally, maybe I said that backwards, but that's what you recognize the city, STL, right? So for the longest time, we've been trying to find a mark that said St. Louis as simply as that. And we kept running into, that looks like the Cardinals, or that's boring, or that, nothing hit home. And we worked with a design firm out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And until we started talking about this more, I don't think I really connected the dots on why I think this works so well. They were not well versed in hockey, being in Hattiesburg. I don't think they really knew anything about hockey, to be honest, right? But what they did know about was Mississippi Delta Blues. And when they talked to us and we talked about the history of the note and we talked about the history of the city and the history of music in the city, I think that's what came forward, is their knowledge of that mark and, that French Acadiana culture and all those different things that make it up. When we got it, our design team did a wonderful job of taking what they brought to us and then bringing that to the final form. But I got to be honest with you, as soon as I saw the STL, I was like, that's it. And I think others in our organization would say the same thing. And the other one that I love this Fleur logo. I just love it. Mm-hmm. And,
that's incredible.
And hey, probably like a lot of people, I'm a golfer. I can see that on polos and hats and things like that. And what you hope, and it's going to take time, but one day you hope people look at that and they at least think St. Louis, and they think of the St. Louis Blues.
And to that point, I'm gonna pass on a little actual a mistake that our good friend Cam Jansen yesterday, when we were talking about this, he actually made a little bit of a Freudian slip, if you will, when he referred to it as the fleur-de-lis instead of a fleur-de-lis. And I think he might have something there.
I love that, actually. Yeah. Hey, Cam's good for a few classic ideas. Well, that's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I love it. I think we might have to change things up and roll with it.
Chappie, one of my favorite details is that STL logo on the shorts. I know that there's a lot of little things that we find that we say, oh, that's really cool. And I love the fact that the STL is going to be there on the team's game shorts.
Yeah. Let's not call them shorts, Randy. They're
okay.
They're hockey pants.
Hockey pants, whatever. Yeah, okay.
But anyway. Yeah.
But is there a detail that you that on the new sweater or on the new hockey pants that you like?
Well, you just said it. Like I love the fact that we're able to represent the city and have a mark that people can, then translate that into their fandom or their appreciation of St. Louis or whatever it might be. But it really does go back to, now we have a group of marks that we can look at and figure out what the best application is for a particular situation.
And we're getting a lot of chats here at STL Sports Central. People wondering how they can get it. They want to get the new jersey. They want to get the new gear. How can people get it today?
So the new gear is available right now. You can go to STLauthentics.com. Let me say that again, STLauthentics.com. Or you can come down to the Blues team store. It'll seep into the marketplace here soon. Hockey sweaters are challenging to make, so they're in production right now, but they'll start to come out in September, and I believe we have a wait list that you can get on to know as soon as they're available to the public. But they'll be ready by preseason for sure.
And Steve, I thought it was interesting that as everything unfolded here with these new jerseys, I know last year a lot of people were worried because of what happened in baseball about Fanatics, and I got the chance to hold that jersey yesterday, and Fanatics has done a terrific job, haven't they, of turning this out and making what appears to be a really high quality product.
They have, and they deserve a lot of credit for really leaning into the hockey product. Randy, it's kind of interesting. I've been in hockey for 33 years. And at the pro level, I swear, I think the same factory right outside of Montreal makes all of our sweaters, regardless of whose brand is on it. But the company leaning in and making sure that the production is top quality, making sure that it's meeting the standards. They really have done a nice job with these sweaters.
A couple more things. The draft is coming up on Friday night, and I know the Blues only have 3 picks, but if you have what you have out of the second and third rounders that you used to send to Edmonton last year, I think we take that every year, right?
Well, look, would you rather have the hope of 2 players that will make the National Hockey League, or would you rather have 2 players that have already made the National Hockey League? I mean, I think it's one of the more brilliant moves that Army and his team Army and his team have made, and Broberg, Holloway. I hope they're fixtures for the St. Louis Blues, but I definitely think they're going to be fixtures in the National Hockey League. So, Randy, to your point, I definitely think a bird in hand is better.
One last thing here. When you guys put out the video yesterday, and obviously Colton Parayko in the white jersey is the first thing you see. And my first thought, and we talked about this yesterday on the show, my first thought when I saw that was the first time I ever saw a hockey jersey and thought, man, that would look really good as a home white jersey. What do we got to do to get the movement going in the NHL to get the home white and the road color and change things up in the way it's been in the last few years?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that this remix has brought this topic up more to the forefront, because I've heard this a lot in the last probably week or so, and I can argue both sides of the coin. Sometimes I wonder, well, if we were wearing whites at home, would people be saying, I'd love to see the Blues more often, right? I do wonder that. I do get the thought of the road team and seeing some of the colors of the road team come in. I will tell you, just a challenge of this now is the addition of sponsor logos onto the sweaters and onto the helmets, right? And, people can poo-poo that all they want to. Our sponsors help us pay to the salary cap, right? And so we're very appreciative of it. We are really proud of the fact that all of the partners on our uniform are St. Louis-based companies. Stiefel, proud St. Louis-based company, headquartered downtown. We're really appreciative of our work with them. Car Shield, based in St. Charles, right here outside of St. Louis. BJC, obviously. I don't know if it'll always be like this. I hope so, but it's nice to represent the city of St. Louis with St. Louis companies, on your sweater. But the challenge, and this happened this year when we were working with our Winter Classic sweater, obviously a road sweater, so it was white. We wanted to wear it home a couple of times. And we wore it once when we played Chicago. That was easy. They just wore the same sweater that they wore in the Winter Classic. But when we tried to wear it again, it became complicated because some other teams have either sweaters that they have a home and a road partner on their sweater. We're fortunate we don't. Stiefel's on both. Or we do have this situation. We have a home and a road helmet partner. And the helmets match the sweater. So you start getting into situations where you've promised things to partners, and it starts to get really complicated. So I know that's a long answer to your question, but that's just the situation.
Things we don't think about. We're here to give information. Hey, Chappie, one other thing before I let you go. And I've been around pro sports organizations where there might as well be a 10-foot thick wall between the actual game people and the sales and marketing people, just a giant silo, right? Right. With the Blues, you have Jim Montgomery narrating the unveiling of this new sweater. I love the synergy that the hockey ops side and the business side has with the Blues, because I'm a fan with access, so I get a chance to see this stuff. It doesn't always work that way, so I thought that was really cool.
You're right, and hey, Randy, we're not perfect at it. Like we're working on getting better, but I do think, to do what we all want to do, which is, Mr. Stillman and the ownership group have tasked us with, we're going to do our best to win a Stanley Cup. And I'm not from St. Louis, but that inspires me, and it inspires a lot of people to want to do the best and do their best to accomplish that. And so the best way to accomplish that is working hand in hand with it. And particularly when you're talking about something that the players are going to wear. And let's get beyond the players. Our hockey department, Richie Matthews, our equipment manager, was a huge part of this process, because, the St. Louis Blue, as we're now calling it, when you put that on a helmet, when you put it on different applications, it doesn't necessarily match. You have to find the right blue, because the material of a helmet doesn't match the material, the way that color seeps into the actual product. So he was a huge part of this, but it does. I think, if you're a fan of process, and I am, and doing things correctly and getting everybody aligned and understanding, I think this went really well. And I include our fan base, our business and hockey operations, our alumni. Hully, Wayne were a huge part of being supportive of this sweater. So anyway, it's what you're talking about is a bigger picture, topic, but that's a very accurate, viewpoint.
Pretty cool. Hey, I know you're a busy guy. We thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on this rebirth and the evolution of the Blue Note and the Blues. Can't wait to be wearing that St. Louis blue during the fall and the winter months. Chappie, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, I love it. And Randy, do me a favor. Please pass along to Brooke my congratulations. That's awesome.
Absolutely will. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much, Steve.
That is Steve Chapman. He's one of our favorites. He is the Blues Executive Vice President, Chief Revenue and Marketing Officer. And if you want to market, you turn out quality stuff and stuff that people like. And the response we're getting primarily here on our chat line is that people do like it. What I've heard around town is that people really do like it. I know that there's going to be a level of negativity, because there's always that, guy shaking his fist at the cloud. But for the most part, I think people are into it.
I love every single part about this. Like I said, I'm obsessed with the tertiary logos. It is now a Florida Lou to me, not a Florida Lee. Thank you, Cam Jansen. Thank you to the St. Louis Blues. I love the new STL logo. Obviously, the classic STL logo that the Cardinals gave us all those years ago still goes hard, but the new STL logo, I absolutely love it. To his point, this is going to go great on like hats and polos for golf stuff. I also, I've been very open all times about my thoughts on light baby sky electric blue. If you have it in your jersey and you have the chance to make it your primary jersey, you should do that. And any franchise that gets rid of it should be cast into the depths of hell. That's why I hate the Los Angeles Lakers, because they used to have baby blue as their color, and they changed like fools.
Well, my favorite NFL jersey is the Chargers baby blue.
Exactly, and them never making that their 100% home jersey has always been what I think has held
until
them
they
back.
got to LA.
Until they got to LA, has always what I think held them back in San Diego. So the Blues saying we're going to go to a lighter blue, and not only that, we're going to call it St. Louis blue. They're giving me my favorite color, and they're calling it St. Louis blue. God bless this franchise. I love it. I'm going to get custom shoes in St. Louis blue. And so, yeah, I mean, everything I'm going to do is going to be in St. Louis blue. I'm obsessed with this new release. The jerseys are clean. I love it so much. And man, that answer he gave us on the home whites, I love the actual facts behind why these things are the way they are and why they're so hard to actually change. I like getting the actual reasons and not being told by Kevin Demoff that it takes 5 years to change a jersey and then watching him change it 3 times in 3 years.
Fred Bird's burner phone STL logo goes hard. High definition. Looking forward to getting a Fleur hat. No doubt about it. Fleur de Lou, by the way. Austin Shiflett, 1,000% behind the new unis. Pumped to get that jersey. And Fred Bird's burner phone goes, let's go Blues. Hey, thanks for being with us. And we want you to know that STL Sports Central is in part brought to you by DraftKings Pick Six. And here's the way it works. If you want to have some fun watching a game, change the way you watch the game. we're deep into the season, and if you're like me, you're locked into every pitch. And that's why I've teamed up with DraftKings to bring you Pick Six, the all-new way to play daily fantasy sports. And here's the way you play it. You pick out 2 to 6 outcomes from the Pick Six app, the DraftKings Pick Six app. Download it. Use that promo code right there. STL Sports will tell you what that'll get you in just a moment. But here's an example of what I've got going on today. The Cubs are pitching a left-hander by the name of Matthew Boyd. Mason Wynn is red hot. I've got Mason Wynn to go over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Okay. I like Mason Wynn to go over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You've also got an epic matchup between young pitchers tonight. The Pirates are taking on the Brewers, and Mizrachi is taking on Skeens. And for whatever reason, Jacob Mizrachi is at 4.5 strikeouts. So I'm going to take him to get more than 4.5 strikeouts against the Pirates. I think that's easy. So I'm going to go with Mizrachi over 4.5 strikeouts, so 5 or more. And then I'm going with Mason Wynn, hits, runs, RBIs, 1.5 or more. And right now you can make wagers similar to that if you download the DraftKings Pick Six app. All new customers who play just $5 get $50 in bonus picks. That's 10 extra picks to keep the action going all week long. Easy to start, fun to follow, and gives you a whole new way to watch the game. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app today and use that code STL Sports when you sign up. Only on DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
Okay, I want you all to weigh in here on the chat line. So, and this is more Jersey stuff, okay? Joel Quenneville, when he was the coach of the Blues, you'd ask him about a player, he said, I didn't mind him. So we've had multiple iterations from the Cardinals, right? We've got the and I like the traditional gray birds on the bat, white blues birds on the bat. You've got the Sunday Navy cap. You've got the Saturday baby blues on the road. The cream at home. And so are there any sweaters or jerseys in the area that you don't like, that you just can't stand? And this includes like Mizzou football, because for me, Mizzou football, gold jerseys, black pants, white helmet, love that on a Saturday afternoon. There isn't a Blues iteration that I hate. I can take or leave the blue with the red diagonal that so many people love, the retro. I don't absolutely despise it. I don't have one. It's kind of a young person's thing, but I don't have it. What about you? Is there? And by the way, this includes City. City's turned out 3 kits now, and I've liked everything that I've seen from City. I do not like the new home kit this year compared to the original home kit. Okay. I just think the best part about City was always going to be, in my opinion, like the connection to the logo with the flag. And so, in my opinion, you need the City red. You need the navy blue, and you need a little bit of gold. And to not have any blue or gold is missing from the home jersey, in my opinion. Mizzou, I've been pretty down on Mizzou jerseys in like the middle teens eras when Nike took over. Mm-hmm. The anthracite jerseys weren't great. And they'd gotten to that point where they didn't know if they were yellow or gold, and now they've decided that they're yellow and not gold. And I think a lot of that was Gary Pinkel, because Gary Pinkel kind of just turned it over to Nike. Yeah. And I think Eli has kind of taken it, so he has to sign off on everything. Austin Shiflett, the Mizzou football white pants are disgusting. I disagree. I actually don't mind the white pants. For me, my big thing with Mizzou is that they're black and yellow and not black and gold. Yeah, old Mizzou black and gold hits at a completely different frequency than current Mizzou yellow. And I have both. I have gear in both. I'm not an old gold guy. I like the yellow a lot better. And I do have an anthracite hoodie that I really like. You know what? That was the problem with the anthracite. The merch was comfortable, clean. The jersey kind of sucked. Yeah. But the merch was fantastic. No, old Mizzou gold to me is so much better. I do like the new Tiger logo. I will say that. And I love the Sailor Tiger logo, despite the fact that it is not unique to Mizzou. A bunch of different other schools
also have sailor logos as well, but oh well. I do like the circular Mizzou actually better than the block M. That's where I go more new school than old school.
I'm with you there. Now, what about the giant tiger? Mike Likens, I don't love the black helmet with the big tiger logo. Not a fan of the white helmets. Black and gold all the way. No need to change. I was and the black helmet with the big tiger logo. I agree with you. I didn't hate it, but of the ones with the big tiger logo, I liked it. I like that helmet a lot. The one I hate is I don't hate it. It'll be my last choice, is just the tiger's script on the side of the helmet.
You don't like that?
It's boring.
Yeah, that's fair. I like it. And again, I like the tiger's script. I like the actual script in like merchandise on a shirt, on a logo, on a hoodie. I think that looks cool. When it's only that, I think it's kind of dumb. The thing about Mizzou, you have to realize, and it's so stupid, but like they were moving for years away from the old gold, and like every time they would put out a new jersey, they would slightly change the coloring. And actually, Steve brought up kind of the issue that we don't ever think about with these is that the same Pantone or hex color on cloth looks different than a helmet. So you have to then you have to change the color you're putting on the helmet so that it matches what's on the cloth. It's insane.
Remember how the Rams helmets never match?
Oh my God. We're not even getting into Rams jerseys, and I have plenty to bitch about that.
What the one Rams won, and this is like we have up from Let's Turn to. It was actually the last game that the St. Louis Rams played at the Dome against Tampa. It was the Condiment Bowl against Tampa. They were all red, Tampa was all red, and the Rams were all yellow. Looked like ketchup and mustard packets. I think that was meant to be. Yeah.
Yes, those were bad. The Rams jerseys, that they turned over in the early 2000s with that blue and gold. That's the one time where I thought yellow looked better than gold. That's the complete opposite. Yellow looked better than gold for the old school Rams. That's why when they went back to LA, they went back to those. And also, here's the thing: the fact that they at no point, again, I get because it's LA, maybe you wanted to be different. The white and blue old school LA Rams jerseys, love those. And the fact that they finally made a throwback of those when they went out to LA pissed me off because they look clean as hell. But yeah, I grew to really hate the navy blue and gold of the Rams after just because they were so. I think it's because they won in the other ones.
And you know what? It was also so redundant. So many teams wearing navy in the NFL.
Oh my God,
just way too many.
And it was a dark jersey and a dark dome, and it kind of the dreariness kind of eked out of it. But yeah, so Mizzou finally decided on one gold, and Nike formalized everything. They changed every piece of signage at Mizzou. Like they went through and changed everything they could get their hands on throughout the entire campus in 2012. And they chose the Mizzou gold, which is a yellow, and that's what it's going to be for the rest of time, I think.
Skywalker 1982 Card Saturday home and away jerseys are the best in baseball. Hard to argue. It is. And would you rather have, like, I don't mind at all. I kind of like the fact that the Cardinals have the baby blue on the road on Saturdays, cream at home on Saturdays, and then the rest of their jerseys, the blue cap if they're playing against a team with a red cap, and then the Sunday blue. Do you like that variation, or would you rather be like the Yankees, where you just have one home jersey, one road jersey, and that's it?
I'm a sucker for variety in a lot of things. That's why I own so many different pairs of shoes. So I'm always going to go the Phil Knight Oregon way of I want 7 different pants. I want 7 different jerseys, and we're gonna get we're gonna change things around. We're gonna get kooky. We're gonna combine all of them. We're gonna get weird. Yeah, I'm a sucker for bad jerseys. I can't help it. I know a lot of people hate them. I love all black alternates, especially in the NFL.
Oh, BFBS.
I'm such a sucker for them. Mainly because the Eagles and the Ravens ones have always just been so damn clean, and like those are the ones that I've always been a fan of.
That's the one Detroit Lions jersey that I like.
Oh, that's a good one too. Oh, I do like that
with
one.
Their Honolulu blue.
Oh, I love Honolulu blue.
The Cardinals, the black and red, the football.
Oh,
Cardinals.
That's a great one too. That's a good one too.
BFBS. When everything was in the 90s, when every black jersey sold out, it was called BFBS, black for black's sake. And teams that just had no connection to having the black in their jerseys. They just, like the Cardinals or like the Lions, they just made it black for black's sake so they could sell a bunch of them.
While we're talking about this, I feel like we can make some we can make some uniform decisions that are just better. And we can all agree. Like, why do the Cardinals not wear navy caps on the road? Mm-hmm. They need to do it all the time. I'm not sure why they never do it.
Especially because the fans voted for the navy cap on the road, but they only wear them when they're playing a team that wears a red cap at home.
What are you, Cardinals, the Board of Aldermen? Ooh,
Yeah, there you go.
Local joke. Ha 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 ha. Anyhow, the Buccaneers should change back to the creamsicle forever.
Yep, 100%.
The Eagles should, if they're not wearing the all-back alternates, it should be Kelly Green.
Yep.
Like these are things we can all agree on that are true. The Chargers should be electric blue primaries.
Yep.
Like these are things we can all agree on, but for some reason these franchises say no, we're stealing your happiness. I don't know why.
All right, we know that you're here to talk about the Cardinals. We're going to do that in a moment, but if you're looking for a great place to watch the Cardinals tonight or tomorrow, you're looking for a great place for lunch today, head on over to the Fenton Barn Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton. It's just 2 minutes away from the soccer park. And I was with Chuck Nash, the manager and the maitre d' of the year in 2024, by the way. And he was telling me that the hottest thing at the Fenton Barn Grill right now is the trashed tenders sandwich. He said, you get some of those trash tenders with their signature golden sauce, get some lettuce and tomato, maybe some cheese on there, and it is absolutely delicious. Give it a shot. Of course, you go to Fenton Bar and Grill because they have the best trashed wings that you'll ever have. They're the best trashed wings in St. Louis. Hey, they're the best trashed wings in America. You know what happens if you're the best trashed wing in America? You're the best trashed wing in the world. You are, and that's what they are. And you just slather those babies with that absolutely delicious signature golden sauce, and it is enticing and delicious. Now, that's not all they have. It's not just wings and sandwiches made from their signature golden sauce, but they have great burgers. They have spectacular salads with savory roasted turkey and delicious ham. You can get some lettuce and tomato on that. Their Cobb salad is absolutely fantastic. And of course, you see all those appetizers on the right. They have their the fantastic toasted Rav. For whatever reason, I don't know why, but the tater tots are different. But the tater tots hit you at the Fenton Bar and Grill. Enjoy it. I know you're a big fan. The first time Matthew Rocchio and I ever met was at the Fenton Bar and Grill.
Yes, sir. It was fantastic. I got some wings.
Yeah.
By the way, I finished talking about Fenton Bar and Grill. I have a question, though.
Okay. Fenton Bar and Grill. Learn more if you want to at fentonbarandgrill.com. It is absolutely sensational. And, oh, by the way, when you go, tell them Randy sent you at the Fenton Bar and Grill.
So you mentioned if you're the best trash wing in America, it means you're the best trash wing in the world.
Do you have any doubt about that?
No, I don't. But it made me ask a question because what other things can we unequivocally say that we already say like you're the best in America, therefore you're unequivocally the best in the world. Like we already do it with if you're the best baseball team or football team in America or basketball team or hockey team in America, you're the best in the world. I think we can all agree with that one. Like do we got the fattest person?
Fattest?
Yeah, do we have the fattest person in the world in this country?
Yeah.
We have to, right?
I mean, hell, we got shows, My 800-Pound Life. Who else
yes,
has
okay.
that?
Yeah, we have the current and the
600-pound.
We have the current and the
all-time?
And the all-time. So yeah, I mean wings.
We
sports,
probably don't win in tallest because Ming was from
you're right. There's some taller ones, but that's a good category.
Yeah. Other food items. I don't think there's any guarantee on the burger.
Is Kobayashi a citizen?
I think he's Japanese.
Damn it!
But what Chestnut is the best. Joey Chestnut would be the best eater, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying if he's the best eater in America, but I don't know if he's the best eater in the world.
Oh, Chestnut, yeah, he's way better than.
He's better than Kobayashi.
Yeah,
well, you know what? One of them retired. One of them already threw in the towel.
Well,
so
Joey's. Yeah, we know that
Joey's still rolling. Kobayashi retired. So.
What else? Breakfast come and go. But Hartford, the Whale, they only beat Vancouver once, maybe twice in life.
So he was talking about other great uniforms.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Samuel Howe brought up Hartford should have a hockey team as like things that need to be true in sports. And then we got into how the Whalers logo and uniforms were all pretty awesome. Okay. And they were.
Let's turn to best Provel cheese in America would be the best Provel cheese in the world.
That's another great point.
Another St. Louis best of.
Good points. Best sliced bagel in the world or best sliced bagel in America would be the best sliced bagel in the world.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff. Right. Okay, Cardinals last night, an 8-7 win as they are able to come back and then hold off the Cubs. And here's an amazing statistic for you. And I haven't seen this on Elias Sports Bureau. I don't know if anybody asked for this statistic, but the Cardinals scored 12 consecutive runs on 2-run homers. I wonder if any other team has ever done that. It had the 12 runs that they scored in a row, all on 6 separate 2-run home runs.
Sorry, I got caught up in the chat.
But what do we got? If it makes you laugh, we need to hear.
You read this. You read an earlier chat from this person, and you said Mike Likens, and he says it's really weird because the chat named is Mary Likens, but the person commenting is Mike, but he's using his mom's ad for YouTube.
Oh,
and so somehow, Randy, you're psychic somehow.
Hello,
it's unbelievable.
Psychic.
But anyhow, yes, insane. And the fact that this team of all teams to do it is insane with their lack of power. 7 home runs total in the last 2 games. That's the most they've had in a 2-game span this season. They've had 2 other spans with 6. And so 7 home runs in 2 games, absolutely unbelievable. And then, of course, you also have the PCA of it all.
Well, yeah, he kind of scuffled. Now, Ozzie Smith scored from second on a sac fly in Game 4 of the 1982 World Series when Gorman Thomas slipped on the warning track. So last night wasn't the first time the Cardinals have ever had a runner score from second on a sac fly. But yeah, Pete Crow Armstrong forgetting where he was and when he was in the game. And credit to the Cardinals, because we've talked a lot about them being aggressive and how I like them being aggressive and forcing the other team to make a play. Another one of those examples where Wynn was never stopped by Pop Warner, and he scored. And the Cardinals, in addition to being able to hit for power, are manufacturing runs. They're finding unique ways to score.
I'd say so. That's one of the more unique ways I've ever seen someone score. He just slipped while catching the ball. Was it like a hard? Liner?
He was moving back on the ball. It's on YouTube if you want to find it. But yeah, his left foot just slipped. He went down to a knee, got up, and Ozzie wasn't. As a matter of fact, Tony Kubek and Joe Garagiola were doing the game. Are we allowed to play another YouTube thing from MLB on our thing?
No.
Okay. So anyway, Tony Kubek and Joe Garagiola were doing the game, and I think it was Joe Garagiola said that he might go because Ozzie can run, and lo and behold, Ozzie did. He scored from second on that sac fly by Tommy Hurt, and the Cardinals scored 2 on the sac fly because McGee also scored from third base.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty fascinating. So a lot of things in the game. Obviously, you have Lars Nootbaar. I have it down there to the left of our screen. Since his little break in return, he's batting .273, 407 on base percentage, slugging .591 with two home runs in the last few games, and then a .998 OPS. Nootbaar, you move him down, you give him a day off, and he has been absolutely killing it lately.
Yeah, and you got to give some credit, don't you, to the skipper, because he's finding out which buttons to push. And I give the Cardinals a ton of credit for not just trotting a group out there and saying, okay, go get them, but actually having the ability to find a spot where a guy is going to be better.
The real third man continues his point here. He says, there is no logjam. There never was. Well, against righties like that yesterday, it's pretty clear because right now Jordan Walker just isn't breaking through in those spots. Nolan Gorman, another home run last night. He continues to be solid as he tries to win more and more time. I thought that was a pretty solid game from Nolan Gorman overall as well. And obviously Mason Wynn, I mean, four hits or 4 RBI in the game off of 2 hits.
Yeah, and then
incredible.
The defense, Alec Burleson making the play at the net in right field. That was fantastic. And then Arenado's barehander to end the game and save the save for Ryan Helsley. And by the way, the Cubs are the second highest scoring team in the National League. Only the Dodgers score more. And after Matt's left, last 3 innings, the Cardinal bullpen was able to shut things down. You had obviously a great, not a great, but a solid performance from Jojo Romero. And then Phil Matone comes in and gets his guys. And then Helsley being able to finish it up for save number 16.
Okay, before we get into some of the other pitcher talk, we're getting some chats here. Bill Downs asking Walker and Wright tonight. We also have Joe Cooper asking, how can the Cards keep Walker up with Burley playing lights out? Walker just has not contributed much. And the simple thing is, there to Bill Downs' point, is I think we'll see it against a left-handed pitcher. We're going to see probably Walker come out, or not Walker, sorry. We're going to see Gorman come out. Burley then takes over the DH spot, and now Walker is back in the back in right field, and that's how you get Walker back in.
And one thing the Cardinals have done as well this year is when they find their spots to sit Victor Scott II, you can always play Newt in center field if you want to do it that way. But in terms of runway, I believe now that over the course of the last month or so, one of the people that has used that runway to kind of take off. That's what you want to give people runway for, is it so that they can take off. I think the Cardinals kind of have the feeling now that Alec Burleson might be one of those guys, and a guy who's making progress, and he's on that runway and gaining speed is Nolan Gorman. And Walker, we're going to see him against left-handed pitching, and somebody's got to sit, right? And they might probably not against a left-hander, but maybe this weekend in Cleveland, Arenado will get a night off. Gorman will take a shot at third.
I'd love to see it. But I'm gonna go ahead and shut up about Arenado and Gorman as Arenado continues to hit and he continues to play incredible defense at third base.
But I think at 34, they want to get him off his feet probably for a day.
Yes, and I think it lines up. And what would help with that decision, I think, would be Jordan Walker taking advantage of his spot starts in the meantime. So they maybe are even forced to the hand of how do we get Jordan Walker into the lineup? Well, we can do that by giving Nolan Gorman third base. That keeps DH open, which keeps an outfield corner open, so on and so forth.
And it's amazing because I kind of thought last Friday when we learned that Ivan Herrera was out, I thought, oh, well, this opens up the right-handed bat thing for Jordan Walker, but not necessarily because the lefties are hitting. And there will be a left-handed hitter in the lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if Gorman. I won't be surprised by any left-handed hitter sitting tonight. Any of them.
I think we'll see going forward. I think we'll kind of see them like with inside of platooning against lefties. They're going to platoon those guys. Like I think we're going to see Burleson probably start tonight because it is it is one of the better pitchers. To Craig Lewis's point, the Cup pitching only gets better in this series. Sub-3 ERA for Matthew Boyd, the lefty, tonight. So I have a feeling we'll see Burleson, who, as we talked about yesterday, Burleson's career numbers, splits righty-lefty, aren't great, but this year they're about even. And then Gorman's this year, they're not great, but his career, they're about even. So I think maybe if you go up against a back of the rotation lefty, maybe that's the one that Gorman gets the DH spot. Walker's in right field. Burleson gets the day off. But against a guy like Matthew Boyd, ride the hot hand. No reason to not keep playing Burleson. I know a lot of people are going to be bothered by Gorman hitting a home run and then seeing the bench, but there are realities.
Well, and don't forget they have the day game after the night game. So
that too.
Tomorrow, and they're both lefties. So Gorman will probably get a shot. You'll see all of your right-handed hitters. So JC will play at least one of these games. Yep. I would not be surprised if Contreras and or Arenado both get time off either tonight or tomorrow because of the day game after the night game, and then the Cardinals traveling to Cleveland after tomorrow's game. So I would think that the entire 13-man group of position players will see a start over the course of the next two games, tonight and tomorrow afternoon.
I think Bill Downs crazy. The only lefties will be Donovan and Newbar. It would be insane to me if they don't play Burleson tonight. That would be because, again, without Herrera being there and forcing the issue, I would be shocked if it's not Donovan at second, Newbar in left, Walker in right, Burley DHing, Contreras at first base.
It doesn't matter who they put out there; they're going to score. So all he can do what he wants. He can pick the lineup from a hat if he wants, but they're going to score. So Mary Likens again. If Helsley had a changeup, maybe it would get people off of his fastball a little bit. That fastball just is not as. It doesn't have the pop that it seemed to have last year. And somebody mentioned that he needs to get it out of the strike zone, but it doesn't. And I know he's in love with the slider, but it's not doing the same thing. I wonder why. I don't know why, but it's just not. Remember when Brad Lidge had the bad year in 2006?
Yep.
After Albert had hit the home run off of him, and he was having his fastball pounded. Not that Helsley's having the fastball pounded, but Lidge was having the fastball pounded, fell in love with his slider, so everybody laid off the slider, and he had a really bad year. And I wonder sometimes if you lose confidence in a pitch and you gain confidence in another pitch, it kind of throws you off because you use a pitch that's not your best on a regular basis.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going wrong for Helsley right now. Bernie joined us last Friday, did a great breakdown. In the Bernie show, he did a much longer and fantastic breakdown from last week. If you want to know the deep dive into these Helsley numbers, go to STL Sports Central on YouTube and watch the Bernie show from last Wednesday or Thursday. I want to say off the top of my head, it was an incredible deep dive into the issues that Helsley is having. I haven't dove completely into his pitch counts from last night to see if any of those things are continuing that Bernie was talking about. But that's kind of where I'm at right now with Helsley. Is I'm going to need to see, 2 or 3 weeks where it's everything that Bernie was pointing out is starting to trend opposite back towards the Helsley we all know and love from last season. And if those numbers do keep trending back, I'll buy that. He's going to be a key guy for you in August and you shouldn't trade him, or September or October and you shouldn't trade him.
Okay, a couple of other Cardinal things. Number one, now that the Cardinals have won the first 2 games of this series, will you be disappointed if they don't win one of the next 2 and take 3 out of 4?
No, and again, to the chatters, Craig's point earlier, pitching really ramps up right now for the Cubs. I think my thing is I'm always worried when teams have success in ways that they don't normally have. And the Cardinals just scored, to your point, a lot of runs off 2-run homers, which isn't a thing they do very often. So there's both like of a regression towards the mean where they're not going to have power because just isn't going to happen in 3 games in a row. And then there's also going up against lefties who are much more talented and deadly than the previous 2 pitchers. I do think the offense is going to stagnate a little bit and they're going to have to win one of these games with 2 or 3 runs. And now the question is, can Eric Fetty lock back in for another game?
He's been surprisingly effective.
Yes, he has.
I hope he can. It'd be nice to get one more. I kind of will be. And I'm changing my mind here because at the beginning of the series against the Cubs, I said, just match them this series, break even in this series, play 500 ball, go 2-2. And if you split it, you're fine. Well, now, because you've got Fetty against Boyd tonight and tomorrow Imanaga coming back for Chicago, I kind of would be disappointed if the Cardinals didn't take 3 out of 4. And by the way, they have Palante going tomorrow, and he was great in his last start on Friday night. So.
He was fantastic. I did not expect that, and it completely changed my thoughts going forward. If we can keep seeing that from Palante again, looking more like 2024, that's huge going forward because for a while there, he was looking like what we kind of always projected him as, 4 or 5, as opposed to maybe the high end 3, low end 2 that he was looking like at the end of last year. If he's that, it just completely changes what you have with Gray, Libby, him, so on and so forth.
All right. And question from Eric Cleveland. Does Ollie go with the hot lineup or go to the right-handed hitters? I think for 2 reasons. Number one, as we mentioned, the idea of playing a night game, a day game after a night game. I think that's one of the reasons that we'll see all the right-handed hitters. And we won't see the same lineup back-to-back days. I think the other part of this is that if the Cardinals truly do want to give players runway, we're talking about Jordan Walker here, aren't we? Then
that's where the conversation.
Then Walker has to play.
Yeah, and Katie Wu was on with AJ Przinsky on Foul Territory yesterday, and she pointed out what we've talked about, which is where is the point where runway talks have to give way to how do we win as many baseball games to win this division, give ourselves the best chance to win rounds of the playoffs. And Katie essentially was saying there's going to be a point where if they keep winning, they're going to have that conversation. And I'm not 100% sure she directly mentioned Jordan Walker in that clip. I don't want to say she did when she didn't, but I will say that when she was saying that, my brain went to Jordan Walker because things have completely shifted. Before Jordan Walker was hurt, it was all about runway. He was going to be able to play through any problems he had, and then he gets hurt, and all that Alec Burleson does in the meantime is hit the crap out of the ball, and therefore it's got to a point now where they can't potentially give him those at-bats anymore when they have Burleson doing what he's doing. And so 100% the question now is shifted to, can you give Walker the runway? And man, it's really hard for me to agree with the idea that the Cardinals should change Jordan Walker's plan in 2025 based on how many games they're winning in 2025. I don't know if I like that thought process to change. I understand you want to win as many games as possible. That's the goal. That's what people get paid to do. But in any way, shape, or form, changing your plan, which you came to was the best practice to develop Jordan Walker for this year and next year and future, changing away from that plan in any deviation is a little bit of a mistake, in my opinion.
And when Walker suffered the wrist inflammation, he was red hot.
Yes.
I mean, he wasn't hitting the home runs that Burleson is hitting, but in terms of OPS, in terms of batting average, he was really hot at that time. And so does it, and it does happen. I mean, it happened to Wally Pipp. Does a guy lose his position because of injury or illness? I still don't think at 23 the Cardinals have given up on Jordan Walker becoming a pretty good player.
I don't think they have either, but I think it would be a mistake to change tact on giving him the runway because they're potentially going to fight for the division this year. That's just my thought. And listen, everything that and they have so many more numbers, and just like we were saying with Steve Chapman, there are things that are being taken into consideration by these clubs that we are not thinking about. Because unlike the Lakers, I'm sure the Cardinals are paying for the baseball equivalent to synergy. So they have all these numbers. So they know, can Ryan Helsley, can these pitchers, can they take us to that next level if we make it to the playoffs? If their conclusion is yes, then everything I'm saying, you can scrap it. But my point is that 2025 should not change your plans for Jordan Walker. And I think we all agreed with that a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's had a couple of bad weeks after returning from an injury, and it seems like we're changing that. And I think that's a mistake overall.
I want to throw one other thing out there that might be distasteful to some, but it's called reality. And last year, Alec Burleson, before the All-Star break, hit .288 with an .814 OPS, had 17 homers and 53 RBIs. After the All-Star break last year, Alec Burleson had a .626 OPS, .814 in the first half, .626 in the second half, .288 batting average in the first, .242 in the second, 17 home runs in the first half, 4 in the second, and 53 RBIs in the first half, 25 in the second. There is no guarantee that Alec Burleson is going to be able to sustain what he's done over the course of the last month or so.
No, but the fact that he's doing it now, a month and a half, 2 months in a row, I think changes.
Just like he did in the first half last year.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So let's see what happens when he gets playing time. And for all of these guys, let's see what happens. Is Gorman going to be able to sustain it? Would Walker have been able to sustain it? Is Mason Wynn going to be able to sustain it for a whole year? Victor Scott.
Yeah, and I hope that's true. And I'm okay with them giving Alec Burleson the time now that he's hitting the ball. And I get this gets back to a conversation we've had before, which is how much of this consideration is just comes down to the interior talk in the front office of where is this player's ceiling? And has it changed or were we misinformed about going into this season where they thought Jordan Walker's ceiling was and Alec Burleson's ceiling was?
They're just different kinds of, they're supposed to be different kinds of hitters because I know that they had looked at Burleson. They thought that the 17 home runs in the first half last year were kind of the exception rather than the rule. But now he's hitting for power. He's delivering damage. So I think their perception of Alec Burleson might have changed a little bit with the home runs that he's hitting. And home runs are still key. They're the king in Major League Baseball.
So you pointing out the fact that he's done this before in a short period of time without being able to extend it. So you are agreeing that it's problematic to lean completely on Alec Burleson and take away at bats from Jordan Walker in the short term.
In the short term, yeah. Okay. Because I think you do need to find out what the ceiling is for Walker, because I think the thing that scares the Cardinals the most is that this is their best prospect since Albert Pujols, and they're worried about him going somewhere else at the age of 23 or 24 and turning into a monster.
So let's extend this conversation. Do you think that extends to Gorman with the way he's hitting right now? Do you also think they should? Do you also think, like, how do you balance giving at bats to Gorman versus Walker?
They have never deviated from their belief that Nolan Gorman's going to be a 35 to 40 home run guy. Even last year, they thought that he would, and 2 years ago, he hit 27 in just over 400 at bats. And so the Cardinals have never gotten off the idea that Nolan Gorman's going to be a 35 to 40 home run guy. They still think he can. I don't think it's either or between Gorman and Walker. I think what it comes down to is you have to decide of these four left-handed hitters, Donovan, Burleson, Gorman, Nootbaar, who are the three that you like and who is the odd man out.
So you are, even though Burleson's hitting like crazy and Gorman just had a home run last night,
and Newbar's hot.
You are, and Newbar's hot. You are pulling one of the lefties out of the lineup for Jordan Walker against a lefty tonight, or tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be crazy to not do that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm doing that.
I just think you can't get away with that. Like you have to do it.
Yeah, you can't bury a guy.
No, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, at this point. Hey, Sports Hub STL postgame shows are brought to you in part by Hot Shots, and we'll have a postgame show right after the Cardinal game tonight. And Hot Shots is celebrating 35 years here in St. Louis. They've been around since 1990. Congratulations to our partners at Hot Shots, 13 area locations, and they are celebrating 35 years in the area. St. Louis is home for all the games all the time since 1990. Find your Hot Shots at hotshotsnet.com. One of the things that has really caught the attention of Matthew Rocchio over the last several months is the YouTube show from Pablo Torre called Pablo Torre Finds Out. And Pablo Torre did a deep dive into the NFL owners and management colluding against players to not give players guaranteed contracts. And what Pablo Torre found out, and Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk also found out about this, they got a previously unreleased document that broke down how the owners did collude to limit guaranteed contracts across the league, even though an arbitrator said no, they did not collude.
I guess we should actually say they allegedly colluded. The arbitrator said they didn't. I guess the timeline should be that the 61-page document broke down how the owners encouraged each other to do the same thing, but did not apparently collude to limit guaranteed contracts across the league. Because that's the actual findings, which is insane to me.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because they say, yeah, they discussed it, but then they didn't act on it. But there was no evidence that they didn't act on it because nobody gave out a guaranteed contract after Deshaun Watson got his. The reason that the NFLPA filed a grievance was because right after Deshaun Watson got his guaranteed contract from the Browns, and this is before he had ever played a game, Lamar Jackson wanted a guaranteed deal from the Ravens, didn't get it. He was a free agent, didn't even get offers. Kyler Murray wanted a guaranteed deal from the Cardinals. He didn't get it. And so the owner of the Cardinals, Michael Bidwill, talks to Dean Spanos, who has to sign his quarterback, Justin Herbert, and talks about how he's glad that he didn't have to give a guaranteed contract to Kyler Murray. And Spanos thanked Bidwill for his actions in not giving the guaranteed deal to Kyler Murray. So here's what was written. Quote, this is from the arbitrator. There's little question that the NFL Management Council, with the blessing of the commissioner, encouraged the 32 NFL clubs to reduce guarantees in veterans' contracts at the March 22 annual owners meeting. However, the evidence did not establish a clear preponderance that the clubs agreed to do that or participated in such a scheme. There are many clubs whose only connection to this proceeding is the attendance at the owners meeting, and the expert evidence of aggregate and average changes in various measure of spending, guaranteed and otherwise, is not sufficient, even when considered with the other evidence presented for the NFLPA to meet its standard of proof. And oh, by the way, there was a slideshow for owners to explain to them how much more money was being spent on guaranteed contracts. The arbitrator went on to write, while the NFL Management Council encouraged the 32 member clubs of the NFL to reduce guarantees in future contracts with players at the March 22 annual meeting of the club owners, the clubs did not join in such a collusive agreement and did not act in accordance with one as to the three quarterbacks named in the initial arbitration demand or to other veteran players. Accordingly, I dismiss the arbitration demands of the NFLPA in its entirety.
It's absolutely insane to me. Just there's so many little parts about this, and we're going to continue breaking this down completely over on our YouTube or on our YouTube. So if you're watching us on the STL Sports Central Facebook, go ahead and jump over to the YouTube right now. Sorry, the chat keeps throwing me off. I need to stop reading the chat. It's insane to me the fact that you encouraged everyone to do this, but they didn't prove that everyone did it. Therefore, there is no collusion, which is crazy to me. And there's let's break down some of the parts of this. So to your point, The case was brought by the NFLPA because on behalf of 3 players, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and the third one was Russell Wilson. And the Kyler Murray and all 3 of these players, there's really fascinating deep dive stuff into this. So you have the Lamar Jackson factor, which is the Ravens did offer him 3 different offers of 3 years fully guaranteed. He declined those deals, saying he wanted longer term. You also have instances where, in just the greatest move ever, Lamar Jackson responded to the negotiating parts of the Ravens and said, "I can't talk to you right now. The microphone on my phone doesn't work." Unbelievable. I love that so much. But there's so much incredible in-depth stuff in here. Also, some little things that Pablo Torre and Florio were pointing out, which was some of the reasonings that owners gave for
Hey, we're back. We had somebody trip over a cable. A Jay Renegade. Thanks. Sorry, I tripped over a cable. Actually, yes, somebody did. So we're glad to be back. We were talking about the NFL owners and what rules they are, and I think that's what it comes down to.
We're not surprised by that, are we?
No, I think that's when we see something that the NFL owners may have done that is untoward. You just have to, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And we know here in St. Louis better than any place else
They cut our stream.
what bad guys these guys are. So
Yeah, Randy,
I don't think anybody should be surprised that NFL owners have, again, lied and done things to benefit only themselves and nobody else. And the players are kind of screwed here because they used an arbitrator that they agreed upon, and the arbitrator made a really bizarre decision.
Yeah, and part of this is the legalese of clear preponderance of the evidence versus preponderance of the evidence versus better than not, better than likely, or whatever the hell the other one is. Samuel Howe, by the way, says this is deeper than we thought. Yeah, the NFL is trying to silence us right now. They couldn't get to the chords for Pablo Torre's show when he actually broke the news, so they had to clip ours. So yeah, it's just the things that I was getting into. So there's the Lamar Jackson factor, to the point where owners were saying that they weren't engaging with Lamar. And this is where, honestly, I think the actual collusion thing was, but it was hard to prove to the clear preponderance of the evidence, because there are quotes in this breakdown where owners were saying that they didn't want to engage with Lamar Jackson because his unique play style makes him more susceptible to injury. It also makes him very susceptible to winning MVPs.
Yes, it does.
And so I think that language, the fact that owners are using that kind of stuff, and again, it's not factually untrue, so you can't win in a court of law, but I'm going to sit here right here and call BS on owners saying that we didn't talk to Lamar Jackson because we didn't want to trade for him because, one, he might get injured. He's an MVP. I think everyone would want Lamar Jackson, even though that is a factor. That yes, he runs with the ball. Two, there was other ones saying that we refuse to contact Lamar Jackson to trade for him because if we weren't able to then trade for him, it would have made our relationship with our current quarterback really bad.
Well, he was a free agent though.
And so, yeah, okay. Again, This is what the owners were saying.
Mhm.
I agree with you there. And so there's the Lamar Jackson factor, which is really odd. Then you have to move on to the Kyler Murray factor. You pointed out the text message breakdown between Dean Spanos and Bidwell is fascinating because while Justin Herbert did get $30 million more guaranteed than Kyler Murray, he did not get a fully guaranteed contract. And what another point is odd to me is that one of the points from the arbitrator was that the comments made by these particular owners were after the contracts with the quarterbacks were signed, not before. And yet one of the owners, now not the owner of the three quarterbacks in the detail, but one of the owners who's quoted directly is talking about a contract that was not signed yet. He's talking about Justin Herbert's contract, which was then eventually signed. So that seems odd to me. And then there's the third factor here, which is Russell Wilson, this is insane too, which is a member of the NFLPA, J.C. Treader, a former offensive lineman for the Cleveland Browns, is quoted as saying some extremely disparaging things about Russell Wilson, including calling him a wuss and pointing out that he actually has hurt the players because of the deals that he took.
And Treader, former president, he might still be of the NFLPA.
And so
player president.
And so it appears that the NFL used a member of the NFLPA's own words against the NFLPA in a suit against the NFL, saying essentially, this isn't the player. This isn't owners and players colluding because even the players think that some of these deals are stupid.
Well, the players have to get on the same page, and this is a problem. The players' union in the NFL, they are not very strong. They aren't as strong as the baseball players' union, and I would guess what they're looking for, Matthew, is like Kyler Murray's contract is virtually completely guaranteed. What is like 15% of it isn't guaranteed or something like that. Same thing with Justin Herbert. So I wonder if the players might say, well, that's basically a guaranteed contract, which I might think too. And the other point of this is, I think we can all agree that the worst organization in the NFL is run by Jimmy Haslam, right, in Cleveland. And they are the ones that signed the only guaranteed contract for a player. So I think it's reasonable for everybody in the league, owners, players, arbitrators, to say, well, that's an outlier because it was the Browns.
And by the way, the reason why somebody was like, why are we talking about this? Here's my thing. Years ago, I resigned to the fact that Mark Cuban was going to be wrong, that no matter how fat this pig got, it was never going to be a hog for the slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
But these kind of stories are how that transition happens for a league, or at least the people running it. Like this kind of collusion stuff getting out in the open should be a big story. And it's this kind of stuff that potentially puts you in hogs to get slaughtered territory. And if the NFL's ever going to get some comeuppance for just being as dirty and backhanded as they are, these kind of stories need to be reported on. So hats off to Pablo Torre finds out, but also we need to talk about them as an epicenter of one of the greatest instances of collusion and dirty tactics by the NFL.
But unless somebody files suit, a player files suit against the league or their union, the arbitrator's already made his decision. And I don't see who brings down the NFL. I don't think that they will not be punished to the extent of their crime, just like with what happened in St. Louis, right? If that would have gone to trial, it could have been $4 billion with everything added up. It wound up being $790 million. I would think that NFL owners will be able to finesse a way out of it. They finesse their way out of their concussion settlement with the players. They aren't even paying the players.
I'm not saying we're ever going to get them, Randy.
Yeah.
But if there's any hope, it's and part of this is, to your point, I'm not saying that the J.C. Treader was what ended this thing, but and to T Junior's point, let them go on strike. They haven't made a profit since they became a league. There has to be a unity within the players if they're ever going to stand up to the owners. They're the only ones. They're the only ones who move enough money to actually change anything. And the issue, every time there's a strike, every time there's a lockout, you hear it too. The veteran players who, one, have been able to save money, but two, have knowledge of how these things works, are trying to convince guys who do not have money, don't know how these things work, to sacrifice their money by not going to the negotiating table. And it's just, you're always going to lose out until you figure out a better way to organize and take care of everybody within the group.
Let me give you a couple of anecdotes. Number one, when the NFL players were locked out in 2011, players get paid every week during the season. They don't get paid during the offseason. So they get paid 17 weeks during the season, 17 games during the season over the 18 weeks. There were players that during that 2011 lockout were taking out loans essentially from loan sharks at 50% interest rates during the offseason when they should have obviously been, they knew a lockout was coming. They should have been saving the money that they made during the season for the offseason. They didn't, and they were taking out these massive loans. Another one, and this is just localized. Remember Chris Givens, number 13?
I'll never forget Chris Givens.
Yeah.
Five touchdown passes, 50-plus yards in his rookie year. Thank you very much.
So Chris Givens is
Wake Forest.
doing he was doing a thing with us when we were on 101 ESPN, did a weekly hit. He was a 5th-round draft choice, and he had like a white Lamborghini. You know, why is a 5th-round draft choice buying a white Lamborghini? My point, and to the credit,
Oh my God.
there aren't many things I credit Jeff Fisher for. But one thing Jeff Fisher did is with the rookies, before he would allow them to sign their contracts with the Rams, before the Rams would engage in a contract with a rookie, he made them take a personal finance course. Fisher would bring in a personal finance person and force the players to listen to what they needed to do in terms of their personal finances. But the ESPN, I think it's a 30 for 30, is called Broke. There's so many players that have no idea what to do with their money. And the reason that there isn't a strength in this union is because the players literally can't afford to be locked out. It's kind of like what Patrick Ewing said when the NBA players went on strike. He said, we make a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money. Well, that's what the NFL players do too. And that's why something like this will never be able to affect all of the players in the NFL because there aren't enough guys that are committed enough to save money to put the owners back on their heels.
Bottom line, and that's why everyone, I'm seeing a lot of people be like, this should be the biggest story. This is a huge deal. I want it to be. I want you to be right.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you ever will.
By the way, here's the text exchange between Michael Bidwill and Dean Spanos. This is from after Kyler Murray had signed with the Cardinals, signed his new contract. Spanos, congratulations on signing Murray. Bidwill, thanks, Dino. These QB deals are expensive, but we limited the fully guaranteed money. That's a pretty damning line right there. And have some pretty good language. Thankfully, we have a QB that's worth paying. Spanos, your deal helps us for our QB next year. Bidwill, I think many teams will be happy with it once they have a chance to review. Cleveland really screwed things up. There's another one. But I was resolved to keep the guaranteed money relatively low. As evidence of collusion, this is written by Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk, as evidence of collusion and coordination among supposedly competing businesses goes, the gun doesn't get much more smoky than that. If the Chargers and Cardinals and the other 30 franchises are truly in competition, why would they coordinate? Why would they care? And the only thing is the owners will tell you, well, and this is they have an antitrust exemption that allows them to do things like this because they are partners in getting television revenue and sharing all of their television revenue amongst the teams. And that's what they'll tell you, that yes, we are competitors, but we're competitive partners.
Yeah. Again, they're all working together and they're all printing money at this point, so nothing's going to stop them until something does.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, do you have there the Kyler Murray contract? Here's the thing. Kyler Murray is not going to complain about his deal because he's making an outrageous sum of money.
But is he platinum now? And what happens if he gets like a double points weekend on COD? Like,
oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
a little rough.
A $230.5 million deal, $160 million guaranteed.
103 of it at signing too.
Yeah, so he's not going to complain. And then the other guy in that conversation is Justin Herbert, right? And is he going to complain about his deal with the LA Chargers, where he's getting a deal worth $262.5 million? At that point, the highest paid player in the NFL, and 218 million. So the players, again, $262.5 million, $218 million guaranteed. Players aren't going to go to the trouble to sue their bosses over this.
No, unfortunately not.
So,
Dino. Something about him calling him Dino makes me want to
Dino,
throw a chair through a
I'm
wall.
sure they're buddies.
I hate that.
Yeah, there's a couple of franchises that have never won a Super Bowl.
I was just about to say they kind of have to. I was going to say, do you think that's how it is? It's just like the Chargers and the Cardinals and the Texans and the Jaguars.
Yeah, there's a group.
Titans,
there. Lions, yeah.
Lions. I don't know. I feel like the Lions are a little bit highfalutin.
They might be right now.
They got some history. They're winning right now.
Yeah.
They're trying to walk around. They're trying to kick the Bears away from the big kids table.
You know, just my impression would be that Michael Bidrell probably isn't texting with a female owner.
Oh God, Randall.
Right?
I hope not. Based on what's going on in that organization, please God no.
Yeah, really. By the way, Lamar Jackson's deal that he negotiated himself, he doesn't have an agent. $260 million with $185 million in guaranteed money.
That the Lamar Jackson stuff might be the most fascinating stuff from all this when it gets down to it. All the quotes they have from people around the NFL of why they weren't negotiating with the Ravens to make a deal for Lamar Jackson. That I think is probably the most smoking gun, because in the moment that seemed odd. And I also think teams being like, we want to massage this so we don't give them guaranteed money. I can see the team side of that to a point of saying this team jumped the gun. We don't want to give that kind of deal. That's one thing. But teams taking away a player's agency by saying we're not going to deal for him, even though he wants a trade right now, getting rid of the teams colluding to take away one of the few abilities that players in the way that American sports work have to have some agency and control over their livelihood. Taking that away, including against that's really dirty.
Yeah.
If that's true, that just taking away any ability and saying, listen, I'll help you guys out on everything you need. Just don't offer me and don't let it become public that you guys tried to offer us a trade deal and we said no.
Yeah.
That's dirty.
Craig Lewis, the owner who is the worst is that Green Bay ownership. I agree. Yeah, they're the worst.
Just some cheese-eating folks who want to let you park in their driveway for $40. Jesus, come on.
Craig Lewis, also, the NFL needs a Curt Flood. The NFL's Curt Flood was Reggie White. Yep. He was the one that got them free agency. Until 1993, there wasn't NFL free agency, and Reggie White had to go to court, sue the league, and became a UFA, and then said he took tours all over the country, went to like 5 or 6 different teams, and said that he was going to wait to sign until God told him where to go. And then God told him to go to the place that was offering the most money, the Green Bay Packers.
Correct me if I'm wrong. They got free agency, but they had to give the NFL the franchise tag in '93.
Yeah, right? That was part of the negotiation.
And so, but that's the point we're making here about when it comes to negotiations, CBAs, strikes, lockouts. There's always the push and pull, and the only way the players ever win the push and pull is if they have a magnetic force like a Reggie White that finally shifts it in their favor, where they get free agency. But you always have to know that on the backside of things, the NFL is going to get the franchise tag, or the owners are going to get the franchise tag. And now, over the last 40 years, there has not been a player or a situation or a coalition within the players enough to, again, take that power back in the same way. But there's always going to be a push and pull. And for the most part, in these lockouts, the players have been losing that push and pull a little bit every year.
Yeah. And by the way, before this free agency that we have, and it's obviously different now, but there was this thing called Plan B free agency in the NFL that allowed teams to protect a limited number of players, 37 out of 47, from becoming unrestricted free agents. But it was still 4 years. So if you had 10 players with less than 4 years of experience, you basically got to protect everybody you wanted to, or everybody on your team if you wanted to do so. But after Reggie White filed his lawsuit, then the players got unfettered, complete free agency. So, Reggie White was the guy who changed Plan B and became a free agent. And obviously, the players now, just like baseball players should thank Curt Flood, the players should thank the memory of Reggie White, too.
There you go. I like that.
He was pretty good. I remember Plan B because I was a Redskins fan, and this was 1989 to 92, and we didn't have a team here in St. Louis from 1987 and the 87 season till the start of 95. So I became a big Redskins fan. And Jack Kent Cooke, the owner of the Redskins at that point, he would spend anything. So they loaded up on Plan B free agents, and they won the Super Bowl in 1991 in large part because they had signed a lot of those guys.
But I mean, getting rid of that Plan B, though, I mean, it saved a lot of people money. But in the long run, I think it cost Antonio Cromartie a lot.
Get it? Plan B.
You guys were all thinking it. I just had to say it.
Yeah, we were. Number one Blues fan. Who's the best bargain in football? Mahomes? I think that would be very hard to dispute. If you Google the 10 highest paid NFL players.
The answer is always.
I don't think he's in the top 10.
The answer is always, like, for the last 20 years, the answer to that question has been which Super Bowl winning quarterback has taken a adjustment to get more cash, but for less cap room. And so for a while there, Patrick Mahomes, for the last few years, it's been Patrick Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it was Tom Brady.
Yep.
Because if you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback and you're so locked into your team and your team is so locked into success that you want to be there for 5 years at a time, you can constantly just keep transferring bonus into cash and saving them salary cap, and you will always look like a good deal on the books. And that's where Patrick Mahomes is right now, because there's no reason for him to think that the Chiefs, if he gives them $10 million more on the cap, that they're not going to turn that into a more successful way for him to win football games. And for a while there, that was what the Patriots had Brady thinking, and it kept on working.
This is from NFL Media, where, of course, they win Edward Murrow Awards for their fair and balanced journalism all the time. They never go off the reservation.
No, not at all.
At NFL Media.
No.
So Dak Prescott, they have listed as the top paid player. Josh Allen 2, Joe Burrow 3, Trevor Lawrence 4, Jordan Love 5, Tua 6, Brock Purdy 7, Jared Goff 8, Justin Herbert 9, Lamar 10, Hurts 11, Kyler Murray 12, Deshaun Watson 13, Patrick Mahomes 14 at $45 million.
And I will make a prediction that is the highest you will ever see Jalen Hurts on that list.
I would think
because
so.
For the exact same reason, because of what Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni have proven to Jalen Hurts over the last few years, the consistency of the draft, the free agency, the build of the franchise, you're going to see Jalen Hurts sign new contracts, and then every offseason you're going to see a line item on ESPN about how Jalen Hurts has converted $10 million of bonus so that they save money on the cap, because he's going to be confident that it means Jordan Mailata is going to get a new deal, so my left side's protected. Some new cornerback's going to get signed, so the defense is good enough. That's the highest you'll ever see Jalen Hurts on that list.
By the way, you might be wondering, okay, Randy, you gave us a bunch of quarterbacks. Top 16 paid players in the NFL are quarterbacks. Number 17 is Jamar Chase. Number 18 is Myles Garrett. Number 19 is Geno Smith. Some people would say he's not a quarterback. Number 20, the 20th highest paid player in the NFL is Danielle Hunter of the Houston Texans.
Pay them pass rushers.
Max Crosby at 21, Justin Jefferson at 22, Nick Bosa at 23, CeeDee Lamb tied at number 23, and Sam Darnold at 25. Those are your 25 highest paid players. So you get past those top 16, and then Geno is the only, after Matthew Stafford at 16, of the rest of the top 25, Geno Smith is the only quarterback in that group. Smith and Darnold. So pretty amazing. Pretty cool. There you go. Now you know via podcast. We're sorry that a guy kicked our power out there. Does that happen very often in this business? You know more about podcasting.
This has not. That's the first time it's happened directly in that very funny way.
Okay,
which is funny. So number one Blues fans ask: explain when Mahomes or Kelsey or Chris Jones converts money to bonus money, free cap space for the Chiefs. So essentially, super easy way to do it. Just so I have it in a couple sentences. You restructure the player's contract. A chunk of the salary is converted into a signing bonus, which is then prorated over the remaining years of the contract, which effectively lowers the player's cap hit for the current year.
And Travis Kelce is the rare athlete that puts his money where his mouth is. He just wants to win. And he even said, I think it was before last season, that his agents came to him and said, hey, let's re-up with the Chiefs. Let's get you some more money. And he said no, that he's fine with what he's making. Now, he is one of the highest paid tight ends in the league, but he's making $18 million a year. And he could have made a lot more than that over the course of his contract, but he just wanted to stay with Kansas City and wanted to win.
Yeah, and I guess if you are, since you are a Blues fan, I guess think about it this way. Imagine if the Blues could negotiate tiny little mini buyouts where they could spread out parts of the cap across 3 years instead of it all hitting in 1 year. It's not the exact same way, but that's my best way to kind of formulate it for a Blues fan and what they're able to do. They're able to stretch the cap out across multiple years. But what they do, and this is something that matters in the NFL that I don't think a lot of fans know, is that an owner's willingness to actually pay out cash is a factor here, because you have to pay Tom Brady. Every time this happened, people would be like, he's so great, sacrificing that money so that his team has more cap room. He wasn't sacrificing any money. He was converting it into straight cash, homie. And so part of this is that the Chiefs have to be willing to say, instead of giving you $3 million in cash this year, we're going to give you $6 million in cash this year, but it's going to help our cap. And now we can then, flub things and get players onto our roster for the next couple of years to make Super Bowl runs and things like that. And that's something we don't talk about enough in the NFL, and why good ownership in the NFL isn't just spending towards the cap, and why the Bengals and the Browns will always suck.
Yeah. Here's, by the way, that Kelsey quote from, I think it was last year, in a wide-ranging profile in Vanity Fair. Kelsey said, "My managers and agents love to tell me how underpaid I am. Tyreek Hill forced his way out of Kansas City. He signed a deal for 4 years and $120 million. And Kelsey said, when I saw Tyreek go and get $30 a year, in the back of my head, I was like, man, that's 2 to 3 times what I'm making right now. But he said, I'm like, the free market looks fun until you go somewhere and you don't win. I love winning. I love the situation I'm in." So that's why Kelsey isn't the highest paid guy, or hasn't been.
And there's also that factor too, is if he wasn't converting it, I'm sure Mahomes would also be saying, you don't need to give me 32. You don't need to give me, whatever the average that Lamar Jackson's getting this year, cut it off by 3 or 4. I'm going to get the equity. Winning Super Bowl means that my name plays bigger in commercials. And now he's got equity in sports teams. Somebody pointed out that he's in on the NWSL team over there on that side as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways when you have this amount of trust and belief in your organization that they can save money, but you can also make money. And that was true with Brady with the Patriots, and it's true with Mahomes and the Chiefs. And that's why these conversations aren't always just in the vacuum of salary cap and roster. Like, there are other things that come into play if you're good enough for it to actually come into play. The problem is, here, the last time we talked about football in this town, we were never having any of these conversations.
No. We have Card Central 365 coming up before and after the Cards and Cubs tonight. And of course, you can see that baby on FanDuel, but you'll be able to react immediately after the game. Card Central 365, brought to you by Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. All the games, all the time. And of course, 3:00 pregame today, I
believe so, yes.
Card Central 365. And then after the game as well. And then tomorrow, we've got an early one for you because the Cards have a day game. So an early Card Central 365 pregame, and then the postgame as well. After every big sporting event here in St. Louis, you can count on STL Sports Central to provide you the opportunity to react immediately. Hey, we thank you for being in the chat today. Thanks for Steve Chapman from the Blues joining us to talk about those sweaters. Let's see if we have...
we had some ridiculous chats.
Okay, let's get some ridiculous chats.
The chats late were insane. Somebody were trying to talk about the NBA. One person was very mad at me the entire day because he thought I was using the word tact wrong.
Mm-hmm.
He kept telling me that I need to use the word tack, not tact. And I don't know. I think he's a little confused about what word I was trying to say. I was trying to say tact, and that's the correct word. I don't know.
Evander Kane to the Canucks for a 4th rounder. How about that? Interesting.
What?
Yeah, the Oilers trading Evander Kane.
Interesting.
So that's
wait.
That's
I mean, he was making a pretty penny, making $5 million. They need to free up money as much as possible.
He needs to make as much as he can. I think he might be in debt.
That's true. Getting $5 million off the books for a team that needs to make pivots if they're going to try to improve and actually get over the hump and win one. That makes sense. I like that move.
And by the way, last night there was a White Sox fan that taunted Ketel Marte about his mother that passed away in a car accident in 2017. That fan was ejected, and now the 22-year-old has been banned indefinitely from Rate Field. We need this person's name.
Jesus.
What?
You can't be doxing people.
Why?
I don't know.
Why not?
But what a jackass.
Yeah.
I can't believe he said that. And Cattell,
There you go. That's why.
you know what? A lot of people are criticizing him for crying. Do you want a malice in the palace? Because in my opinion, that's the only other side of the coin. I either get to go up in the stands and swing, or I'm going to shed some tears. I'm an emotional person. I got two extremes. Which one you want, people? Because everyone tells me it's a travesty for the malice in the palace. So I'm taking the other side of the coin on that one. Losers.
Cruelty should be met with cruelty.
Jesus, I wasn't saying that, but okay. My God,
I have no problem with that.
An intense eye for an eye. Last
That's
few minutes
we're going
here.
old biblical.
There you go, old biblical here.
There you go. So that's a thing in Chicago, apparently. So yeah, 22 years old. It's been a pleasure. You go into Bartman hiding, buddy.
Also, I don't like that comparison. Steve Bartman did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong, but he had to go into hiding.
I know.
Even though he did nothing wrong, he had to go into hiding.
It's almost like Cubs fans suck or something.
Well, this White Sox fan does too.
Them too.
Yeah, great to have you with us on the Randy Karraker Show. Great job as always by the great Matthew Rocchio. By the way, Brooke, I saw Brooke yesterday. She's doing great. She said to say hi. Little Ari is doing very well, and she's going to join us on a Zoom here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh my God!
Once she gets Ari like asleep at 10 in the morning, they're on a new schedule. But yeah, she's going to join us on a Zoom.
I thought there was a really good chance that Ari's just so cool she doesn't want to hang out with us anymore. I
be.
wouldn't blame her.
No.
And so I'm really happy that she still wants to hang out with us.
I kind of met Ari. Ari was sleeping. But
that's good. We like that.
He's a cute little fella.
We like that. We hope he keeps sleeping as much as possible.
Yep. A great job by Wilson today in helping us get back on the air after the mishap. It was called a mishap when somebody tripped over the extension cord and unplugged us. So that's what we'll call it.
We were up quick.
Until tomorrow morning at 10:02. Have a happy hump day, St. Louis.